Right now, about 150 former consultants from McKinsey, Bain, and BCG are getting paid by AI labs to teach the machine how to do their old jobs. The people who used to bill $400 an hour are training their own replacement and being paid more to do it. I know because about 3-4 years ago, I was one of them. I built a PowerPoint deck for a living, making minor changes until 3 a.m. Today, I'm a machine learning engineer who builds the AI system. So the question isn't whether AI will disrupt consulting. That fight is pretty much over. The real question is the one keeping the partners of the big firms at night is a lot more sophisticated. It's about when AI does the thinking part and typing, researching, and even creating a deck, then what is the client actually paying a human consultant for? Today's video, we're going to talk about the changing role of the consultant and what kind of value consultancy can actually deliver to the society and to the client firm. So let's see how the consultancy actually works. The consulting runs on a strict pyramid. There's a thin layer of partners at the very top. They sell the work, they consult with the client, bring the big projects to the firm. A massive base of junior analysts locate at the bottom. So they are the ones do the actual works. They do the research, they clean the data, they build the models, they run the numbers, fact check it, put it on a pretty looking slides. The financial engine in this system is the billable hour. It works by the more juniors equals the more billable hours, which equals more profit. So it's like how many junior analysts multiplied by the billable hour. So this base is the cash cow. Now look at that base actually does all day. What they do is synthesize research, clean messy data, draft proposal, format deck, have the feedback from partners, fix it. That list is literal description of what generative AI does best, right? So if a junior takes 60 hours to build a deck and an agent takes about 6 hours, and clients get their answer, what are we gonna do with this 54 hours? The firm just lost 54 hours of the billable revenue. Are they going to pretend it took 60 hours as the same as before? The math doesn't hold up anymore, so you'd expect the firms to be panicking. But the interesting fact is they're doing the exact opposite. The BCG CEO Christopher Schweizer calls the corporate demand for AI rolls out as almost infinite. He told the Wall Street Journal his firm's revenue grew 7%, $14.4 billion last fiscal year, with AI advisory projected to jump from 20% to about 40% this year. So here's how McKinsey is actually using AI on a Tuesday afternoon, let's say, for example. On analysts who used to spend their first 2 days hunting down all the old engagement archive and Googling, trying to come up with the latest research, now ask the internal model called Lilly. And this Lilly gives out the synthesized answer based on their database in 90 seconds and starts the actual analysis on day one. More than 75% of McKinsey's roughly about 43,000 employees use Lilly every month. McKinsey says it saves consultants about 30% of their time they used to spend gathering and synthesizing information. Looking back, the first thing that I would do all day was Googling, collecting all the statistics, numbers, putting into Excel spreadsheet, very basic line of the research process. So in the last 6 months, every Big Four signed an AI deployment deal bigger than most companies' AI budget. Let's start off with the KPMG. KPMG rolled Claude out to 27.6 thousand employees across 138. They embedded this Claude inside their digital gateway platform. And PwC, another Big Four, is starting the 30,000 staff trained on the Claude code, scaling towards its full 36.4 thousand employee workforce. Estimate is over $2 trillion of corporate tech debt. Deloitte deployed Claude across its 470,000 people. The Big Four is all making a step towards using and embracing this AI inside their business. Accenture announced a partnership with OpenAI on December 1st. And 8 days later, on December 9th, it announced a dedicated Claude practice with Anthropic. So they betted on both sides. They betted on OpenAI, they betted on Anthropic. However, there was an incident that some of you might remember. Deloitte Australia delivered about 237-page independent audit to the Australian government. It was about a welfare compliance review that cost taxpayers about $290,000. So, a University of Sydney researcher named Chris Rudge, he started reading that final product and noticed something strange. The citations were made up. It was a fake. The academic papers that didn't exist, a quote attributed to the federal court judge that the judge never actually said. The revised version of the report quietly added a disclaimer that they have used generative AI, specifically by the OpenAI, have been used to draft it, and Deloitte issued a partial refund. So here's the irony. This is the same Deloitte that committed $3 billion to generative AI through 2030. The firm selling AI transformation to the world got burned by the exact failure mode they're paid to protect the clients from. But this raises our eyebrow. It forces a question like, if the AI wrote the report and AI got it wrong, what was the client paying a premium for? It clearly wasn't the typing and researching part. You cannot sell time when time is collapsing to zero. So the economics of the industry are fundamentally shifting. This is what BCG's CEO said on the Wall Street Journal this year. For the majority, 3/4 of BCG's largest AI transformation projects, the contract is now structured with variable fees. The price is tied to results. It's tied to the revenue growth, cost reduction, concrete business transformation. McKinsey says about 1/4 of its total global fees are now outcome-based. The reasoning for their high billing is attached to the quality of output now. So here's what that looks like in practice. In the past, the BCG will send about 12 consultants from a top university for about 6 months, and it bills you $8 million, just hypothetically. Whether your revenue moves or not, and the new deal is BCG sends a smaller team plus AI tooling for a fixed base fee. Then it takes a percentage of whatever cost saving you actually book over 2 years. If they hit, they make double. But if not, they lose the money for the engagement. So you can see we used to sell like the human resources, the time and the input of the people, but now is attached to what kind of economical impact that we can make to the client. Consulting just stopped selling brain power hours and started selling insurance and outcomes. And that is completely different business, which I think it makes more sense because consulting firms are taking more responsibility towards the outcome, being more responsible, embracing AI tool to form the basis of what kind of strategy they come up with. So it hands the advantage to smaller AI native boutique firms that can quote a price the legacy firms literally can't match. Then you might think, so why don't companies just bypass the consultant, not use the consultancy and buy API access directly from Anthropic, OpenAI, Gemini? Because there is a massive crater, the gap between buying AI tokens and actually changing what shows up to companies' P&L. So P&L is just profit and loss. This initiative make the business more money or save the business more money. That's the only number that matters. AI labs want to maximize a model adoption. But an enterprise doesn't become more profitable just because employees are firing 1 million chat prompts a month. To actually capture the value, what they call the business value, you have to redesign this workflow. You have to upskill the stubborn employees who's unwilling to accept AI and change how the organization operates. It's the whole renovation they have to go through to actually make this burning AI token into the business value. So that's why BCG isn't cutting headcount. Their workforce is actually growing. All of about 34,000 employees are now being put through a mandatory 4-phase AI certification program developed in-house. So what consultancies are capturing opportunity here is the gap between the actual adaptation to the company to make it into a value in the money, but also it's about the using AI itself, the AI tool existing, if this makes sense. So getting a company to use AI is easy. They can give employee the access to Anthropic's Claude or Google Gemini, any tool. Getting a company to work differently is a different story. Because AI is a new stuff, no one knows the exact same formula of how to work, and it's not like one size fits all story. This is why the junior hiring isn't dead yet. Despite every headline claiming AI is wiping out the white-collar status, Accenture cut about 22,000 roles in a structural reset last year. McKinsey trimmed about 200 technology positions as AI automated non-client-facing work. But Accenture also expanded its stock of AI and data professionals from 40,000 in 2023 to 77,000 by 2025. So net addition of 37,000 specialists in just 2 years. So this pyramid is not collapsing, it's recomposing. Firms are now hunting what they call AI native junior talent. They don't need raw juniors who knows how to summarize the PDF. The skill they require for is different. They need a junior who can prompt complex framework, structure the problem for the data engineers, data scientists, or machine learning engineer, and drive the change in the management. So last year, BCG saw about 1.7 million applicants for these evolved slots, and the acceptance rate was under 1%. So now we have to draw a big question. What are clients actually buying? If AI handles the data extraction, synthesis, the drafting, what's the human consultant actually for? There are two answers, I believe, and one of them is pretty dark story. The optimistic answer number one, consultants are moving up the value chain. They're free from a formatting loop to focus on the human judgment, corporate politics, and strategic interpretation. The AI gives you the raw options. You pay a human expert to tell you which option fits the unique, messy culture of your boardroom. But another darker answer is, just like the one Deloitte Australia story hints at, maybe clients are really buying is someone to blame. It's the bitter truth, and I believe it's also partially truth. One of the reasons the client will hire the consultancy is because someone in the executive room or the people doesn't want to take the full responsibility. So think about it. When a CEO hires an elite global firm and the strategy goes off the rail, there's a brand name on the contract. There's a liability clause. There's someone with their name on the document, not their name. An AI model cannot be sued. It cannot sit in a parliamentary inquiry. It cannot apologize to board of directors. The human consultant is transforming into something new, accountability as a product. The layer that signs their name to the output takes the heat when the model hallucinates. So if things go wrong, just like Deloitte Australia had to refund some of their project fee, it'll be the consultancy. Now we are watching the transition of the professional services from selling time to selling software and systems that fits into the client's situation. So it is technically what the industry now calls as service as a software. Instead of delivering 40-page PDF or a nice-looking slide, the firms like KPMG or other Big Four, BCG, McKinsey, everyone are building tools that drop legal or tax analysis from weeks to minutes. But let me be honest, nobody has fully figured out this yet. The partner at these firms made their wealth on the billable hour. Getting them to enthusiastically deploy automation that reduce short-term billable hours into massive internal civil war. There's a whole industry talking loudly about a disruption on stage and quietly protecting the margin behind the closed doors. I went from building the slides as a consultant now to the building the code that replaced them as an AI engineer now. And from where I sit on both sides of the equation and understanding both sides, I feel like, surprisingly, consulting is not dying yet. It's being forced to finally prove that the value it brought was never the hours spent typing. It's a personal thing, but while I was working in consultancy, one of the reasons that I left was because I started to feel like the skill that I'm improving is not my brain power. It's not about how to do more strategic thinking. I was spending about 90% of my time researching, Googling. I felt like I became a search engine. And spending all night, I couldn't even sleep properly. But what I was doing was data analysis and researching. Thinking back, if I am a junior analyst now, and if I can save my time in research, let's say about 20 to 30% of my time, and for the rest of the options, I can seriously give a thought about what kind of options collaborating with AI, what kind of option A, B, C, D we have, and which one suits their value, trying to come up with the optimal solution. And if the consultants are being responsible about the outcome that we bring forward, I think this trend of transitioning into the value-based billing is really a meaningful transition of this consultancy business model. So whether they can prove that it's a good way or something that works is still something we need to keep an eye on. And one of the reasons why we should pay attention to this consultancy is because the big consulting firm is attached to the law, accounting, all the architecture, the big body of the other industry. So I feel like the change in consultancy can be the first domino of how all the role of the jobs changes. So every knowledge that charges smart people by hour is watching this play out right now. Let's keep an eye on how consultancy changes. And if you have any other opinion, let me know. If you want to know more about the AI trends and want to understand AI better, please let me know. And if you have any topics you want to suggest, leave me a comment. Thank you.